Hello students, today again we are here to continue the lesson Quality by John Galesworthy. So I'll just revise what we had read 2 days back. So Quality is it's a story of a German shoemaker who had settled in London. His name was Mr. Gessler. He was a perfect artist. He used to make the boots of the narrator's father also. Then Gessler lived with his elder brother. The shop had no signboard, so it was only written Gessler Brothers over there. He made boots only on advance order, so he only used to make boots on advance order, and they never failed to fit. Means they were so perfect, and they perfectly fitted in everybody's feet whosoever had ordered in advance. So these Gessler brothers were real artists. So the narrator did not need to go to his shop very often because the boots used to last longer. They never used to get worn out. The customer going to Gessler sat on a wooden chair and waited. So the customer, whenever went to his shop, he used to wait for some time in a shop and used to sit on a wooden chair. It was like going to some church because it was so holy over there. The smell of the, you can say the fragrance or incense, it was like incense in the church. It was compared to incense. Whatever fluid was being used in making of shoes was compared to the incense which comes in the church, because they worked so you can say tediously and made the boots. That means work is worship for the Gessler brothers. Gessler showed his piece of gold brown leather. He promised to deliver the boots after a fortnight. It seemed like dream boots. So they were like dream boots. Means they were made so beautifully that only in dream we can imagine. Unimaginable, you can say. Such beautiful pair of boots he used to make. So let's now read further what happened. What does the author say? He says, I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say to him, Mr. Gessler, that pair of boots creaked, So what is the meaning of creaking? Creaking is the sound of the shoes. When the leather touches the ground or the floor, it gives a creaking sound. He looked at me for a time without replying, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement, then said, it shouldn't have creaked. So he says creaked, but it's creaked. It did, I am afraid. So the narrator says that he told his problem that his shoes were creaking and then making creaking sound. So the Gessler brother, he says, I'm not sure that it should happen or not, because I had made a very nice pair of boots. You got them with before they found themselves. I don't think so. So he's asking, you got them when before the day found themselves. I don't think so. He's answering, I don't think so, the narrator is saying. At that he lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots, and I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. So the narrator also feels ashamed because he believed a lot on the Gessler brother, and he feels sorry that he has reminded him about the problem in his boots. Send them back, he said. I will look at them. So he said that send them back to me. I will just have a look and I'll again go through what I have made and I'll rectify them. Once I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. He took out my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my foot. At last he said, those are not my boots. So when once I went to his shop and in a pair of boots which I had bought in emergency because I had no other place to go. So I bought it from somewhere at a large firm. He took my order without showing me leather. So he did not show me the leather this time, and he was penetrating on my shoes. His eyes were looking at my shoes, and he could make out that these shoes were not from his shop. He says, "Those are not my boots." The tone was not one of anger nor of sorrow, not even of contempt, but there was in it something quiet that froze the blood. So he says, when he asked that these shoes don't belong to my shop, they were not made from my shop. So it was not in the manner of anger. Neither he was angry or nor he was sorrowful for that, but there was something which made his blood frozen. Whose blood frozen? The author's blood frozen. Why? Because he put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where he left boot was not quite comfortable, and he saw that the shoes were not comfortable from inside. The boots were not comfortable from inside. He put his finger inside. He says, "It hurts you there. It hurts you there," he says. "Those big firms given way within of no self-respect." He says the big firms which make the shoes don't have self-respect. They make anything, but they take the money from their customers. They don't give perfect, skillful art of shoes. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. So he spoke long and bitterly. Bitterly means he was not happy. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. And this time he was telling about his problems, that it is very difficult to make shoes. It needs a lot of laborious work. It needs tedious work. It needs skill. It needs sacrifice of your time and your energy. They get it all, he said. They get it by advertisement, not by work. So he says, he's talking about the big firms, that they get their things sold with the help of advertisements and not by their work. The quality is not good, but only the advertisement is better. They take it away from us who loaf our boots. So the boots which are made by these artists, they take it from them. It comes to this: presently I have no work. He says, I don't have any work now. Every year it gets less. So he says ki my work is getting lesser and lesser. Yes, you will see. So he says my work will become less year by year. Why? Because it is obvious, students, that the machine has taken away the chances of human, you can say, opportunities. So the people are not getting jobs because the machine is working instead of them. So he says as best I could explain the circumstances of those ill-omened boots, but his face and voice made so deep impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. So he says, I was talking to him, and then I ordered many pairs of new boots in his shop. They lasted longer than ever. So they lasted longer, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. For 2 years, the narrator did not go to the Gessler brothers shop, and he could not meet him because his shoes didn't get worn out, and they were lasting longer. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. Well, Mr. Gessler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me. I am pretty well, he says. I am pretty well. I am fine, he says. He said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. He says, I am fine, but my elder brother has passed away from this world. Students, why did he pass away? Because of his dedication, because of his hard work, because of his skill. He was an artist and he did not bother about his food habits. Let's see what happened. And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and wan. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, "Oh, I am sorry." "Yes," he answered, "he was a good man." So, he's telling about his elder brother that he was a very good man. He made a good boot, but he is dead. And he touched the top of his head, where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. "Do you want any boots?" And he held up the leather in his hand. "It's a beautiful piece." So he held the leather in his hand and said, "It's a beautiful piece." I ordered several pairs. The narrator says that he ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but were better than ever. So he ordered many pairs of shoes and got them, the boots he got. One simply could not wear them out, and soon after that I went abroad. He said, I went abroad. The narrator says, I went to foreign country. I went abroad. It was over a year before I was again in London, and after an year this narrator comes back to London again. And the first shop I went to was my old friend's. I had left a man of 60. I came back to one of 75, pinched and worn, who genuinely this time did not at first know me. So he says that when he came back to London, he found that the man he had left was of 60 years old, but this man was of 75 years old. "Do you want any boots?" He said, "I can make them quickly. It is a black dime." I answered, "Please, please, I want boots all around, every kind." So as the narrator says that he was very crazy about the boots, and that too of the best leather in his shop. So he says, "I want more boots all around, every kind." He wanted to buy because he was crazy about them. I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one I tried them on. So he says, I just tried them. The narrator says that I tried them. He put on one by one all the boots of his choice which he had ordered to the shop. In shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. So they were best in the quality, they were best in the size and the fitting. So he says he was flaunted, he was very happy with the pair of shoes or the boots which he received from the shop. I flew downstairs, wrote a check. So he came hurriedly, happily, and he signed a check and posted it at once with my own hand. So he says, I got the check done and I posted with my own hands. And what happened then? A week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. So what happened? After a week, when the narrator was passing through the street, he thought that now I am going to thank him with my own self. I am going to go in front of him and thank him that how splendidly the boots fitted, how beautifully the boots had fitted in his feet. So he went there, but he could not find even the signboard over there. The shop had already gone. The name was not there. It was blank. I went in very much disturbed. So the narrator says he got so disturbed that the shop was not there. The shop was there, but the name was not there. And there was somebody else. There was a young man with an English face. So students, you understand who is an English person. He hails from Britain. He belongs to Britain, and he could see a he could see an English man over there, a young man. Mr. Gessler in? I said. No, sir, he said. No, but we can attend to anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over. He says that, Mr. Gessler is not there, but we can attend you for anything with our own happiness and pleasure. Yes, yes, I said. But Mr. Gessler? Oh, he answered, dead. Dead? But I only received these boots from him last Wednesday week. Ah, he said, poor old man starved himself. Slow starvation. The doctor called it. You see, he went to work in such a way, would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. So he says that the man had died, the Gessler brother had died due to slow starvation because he was not taking his food in time, and he was working continuously, laboriously for making the boots. And finally, he meets his death. Would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. So he says he was not bothering about anything except his boots. When he got an order, it took him such a time. People won't wait. He lost everybody. And there he would sit going on and on. He was working harder and harder. I will say that for him, not a man in London made a better boot. So he says that the best person who made the best boot in London was the Gessler brother. But look at the competition. He never advertised. So he never advertised his boots. This was the competition. Would have the best leather too and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? But starvation? That may be a bit flowery, as the saying is, but I know myself. He was sitting over his boots day and night, to the last you see. I used to watch him, never gave himself to eat, never had a penny in his house. All went in rent and leather. How he lived so long, I don't know. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots. Yes, I did. I said he made good boots. So, students, you have understood how the Gessler brothers were so laborious, hard-working, and they never bothered about anything except quality. They used to give quality of their leather, and they used to work hard, and they were artists, and they used to make the skill perfectly and used to sell and did not get any benefit out of the selling. Due to that, they remained poor, and they never bothered about their health, which is very, very important, which is quintessential, which is very important to be pondered upon, that we must take care of our health first, and then we should think about other things, and then we can work hard. I hope you have understood the story. Write down the summary and write down the question and answers and new words and their meanings. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.